debates, and also speaking to Councillor John Leech next about the pardon following, of course, remember the pardon for Alan Turing? Well, now posthumous pardon is going to be given to all gay and bisexual men convicted of now abolished sexual offences. So we're going to hear more from John Leech, his reaction to this historic move by the government. That's in a couple of moments' time here at BBC Radio Manchester. Now, did you hear the news today that the government is going to give a posthumous pardon to all gay and bisexual men convicted of now abolished sexual offences in England and Wales? Now, this follows the pardoning of World War II codebreaker Alan Turing for gross indecency in 2013. John Leech, the former Liberal Democrat MP for Withington, now a councillor, of course, he led the campaign for Turing's pardon and secured the agreement for the pardoning of all other men convicted under the abolished laws. We can speak to John now. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Why has this been such a kind of labour of love for you? Why did you feel so passionately about this?
Well, Alan Turing was a Manchester hero, and I think he was his case highlighted the case of so many thousands of other people who obviously weren't as famous and well known as he was. So I think he was a torchbearer for all of those other people who'd been wrongly convicted over such a long period of time. Obviously, I'm absolutely delighted that the government has finally agreed to this, because one of the challenges at the time when we got agreement for the pardon for Alan Turing was that the Conservatives didn't want this to set a precedent for other cases.
Yeah. But
of course, it did set a precedent for other cases, and it was the start of obviously a now successful outcome for all people who were wrongly convicted of sexual offences over such a long period of time.
Now, the pardon is automatic for people who are deceased. So if there's a member of your family who is convicted of this, they are automatically pardoned. But if you're alive and you yourself were convicted, there's something you can do, isn't there?
Yes, you can ask for the offence to be discharged effectively, and then it can be struck from the record. So it is available for people under the Freedoms Act to clear their name, but of course anyone who has passed away has never had that right, and so that's why it was so important that this agreement was met, so that everyone who is no longer with us is able to have it struck from the record too.
I mean, 75,000, nearly 76,000 gay, lesbian, bisexual and transgender people were unfairly convicted for offences similar to those that Alan Turing was convicted of.
It
really does.
Belief now. Yeah. In 2016, I don't think people could quite believe that would be the case. But it affected literally tens of thousands of people, and it took so long for the government to accept that it was wrong to allow this to stay on the record, and I think it just shows how far we've moved on in that time. That until relatively recently, people were still being convicted of perfectly normal, ordinary relationships between two people that loved each other.
Did you watch Newsnight last night? I don't know if you caught it.
I didn't. I was actually campaigning in Witney for the by-election today.
Well, there you're a busy man. No, I was only asking because there was a man last night on Newsnight who was convicted in 1974 under these abolished laws. And he said something quite interesting, actually, because he said, do you know what? I don't want a pardon. I want an apology, because pardoning suggests that you even did something wrong in the first place. He said, I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, that's an interesting point of view, actually, isn't it? Do you think... Would you support the government apologising publicly to these people? How do you feel about that?
Of course, Gordon Brown, when he was Prime Minister, apologised for the Alan Turing case and others. And so the apology has already been given effectively by the government, but it was never struck from the record. I completely accept that the heartache that families and individuals went through can never be struck from people's memories. But at least this is something that we can do to try and make amends. It can't ever fully make amends for the way that some people were so unfairly treated, but at least it gives some comfort, I hope, to people that now it is absolutely accepted that nothing that they did was wrong, and so hopefully it will give many families some level of closure where they feel that it's been far too long in the waiting for that pardon and for a recognition that either they or their family member were not guilty of any crimes.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Good to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's John Leech, who's the former Lib Dem MP for Withington, a councillor, of course, as I said, now talking there about the government pardoning, giving posthumous pardons to gay and bisexual people who are convicted of those now abolished sexual offences. Unbelievable, is it? 76,000 nearly. Goodness me.